Hey guys, I'm Nate, one of the two co-founders of Urban Leaf. The other one obviously being Rob, who's with me on the call today. So basically what we do at Urban Leaf is we help city dwellers grow their own food and reconnect with nature. We do that through a range of beginner-friendly, apartment-friendly, fairly affordable and easy-to-use gardening kits. We actually started the business with a simple hydroponic kit that goes with a wine bottle. Since then, we've added some soil-based kits that allow people to obviously grow more herbs. So when we added the soil kits, we were able to add mini fruit and vegetables to our portfolio as well. So we now have a kit with like miniature peppers, strawberries, and miniature tomatoes as well. And the Microgreens kit came out last year, probably the easiest to use of all of our kits. And we think microgreens are, a really great place for people to start off gardening, especially if they don't have a lot of past experience. Very, very easy to set up, very, very easy to use and care for. And they're also nice because they're so, nutrient packed, incredibly healthy. And it's a really quick turnaround as well. So while growing herbs or, fruits and vegetables can often take, at least weeks, if not months before you get a harvest. Nice thing about microgreens is that they can be ready to eat in, as little as a week or two. So it's a great place for beginner gardeners to get started, I think.
It's true. I feel like it's hard to mess up microgreens.
Yeah.
And then I was curious, like when you're doing herbs that are longer term with your hydroponic system, do you need to add any kind of fertilizer? Like how does that work with your, and do you also keep using your jute mats? How does that work?
Why don't I can
You can take that one, Robbie.
walk through this just because I've got one in my hands. Yes, this was like our first product. We called it the world's smallest garden. But it was basically like this little cork kind of that you stick in a bottle. And then the roots you can see just grow directly into the water. And this has got I call it like smart soil, but it's basically like a stabilized, it's like old bark from pine trees. And we load that up with nutrients. So like all the fertilizer it needs for its life.
Mm-hmm.
And basically when you fill it up with water, like that dissolves out into the water along with like some pH buffers. So that kind of turns this water into like a perfect nutrient solution for the plant. And then
That's amazing.
It's good for its whole life. I mean, these plants aren't like crazy long lived. But yeah, you'll get like you can see this one's nowhere near being anemic. So you could probably get like 3 or 4 harvests off of a plant like that. And then if you want to keep it going, you can transplant it.
So that would be all you need to do, basically. Like you just use that bottle and then it's good for like 3 or 4 weeks or even longer. You don't have to, like there's no maintenance. Like very little.
Maybe after a month and a half, you need to add in more water. Like a month and a half, 2 months in, maybe you just fill it back up to about like 3/4. But yeah, it's pretty. I'm see if I can get light behind it. It's pretty cool if you can. I don't know if you can catch that.
Yeah, I can see a little bit. Yeah,
the roots will just chase the water down, so they'll just keep following the water. This is called Kratky style hydroponics, and it's pretty simple. Pretty.
I feel like it would be impossible to have a brown thumb.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
The one advantage the microgreens has over the herbs is like the microgreens just do not need much light at all. If you're going to do herbs like this, you really do need like a sunny window that's got like at least 4 hours of like real sunshine hitting the leaves a day. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty foolproof. You only get one basil plant, but but it takes care of it well.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to add, the product works really well with all different varieties of basil, and I guess you could almost say we kind of designed it around the needs of a basil plant. So the nutrient enriching that Rob was talking about, we put about 6 months worth of liquid plant food, which has been sort of enriched into the substrate there. So you might ask, why 6 months? Well, these are all culinary herbs, remember, and generally as a lot of these plants get older, the stems get a bit thicker and woodier. The leaves often get thicker as well, and they tend to, they just don't taste as nice. They can sometimes start to get a bit of a bitter taste as they get older. So you could have it grow longer. And I think one of the first prototypes was actually a Thai basil plant that we kept going for well over a year. But generally, like the younger plants, their leaves taste a lot better. And so we would recommend just like getting a refill kit and starting over. That way you can eat the younger leaves rather than the old bitter leaves.
Mm-hmm. And so with basil, is that a plant then that would have more trouble indoors during winter, I guess? Like that would be mostly during the sunnier months that you could do that home, or?
Depends a lot on your lighting. I mean, if you are further away from the equator and you don't have as much natural light, or your window's facing the wrong direction, then yeah, you're going to struggle to grow it through the winter. But there's, I mean, grow lights have become so much more affordable over the last 5 or 10 years. It's actually quite crazy looking at a curve of their life expectancies and their cost by year, and they've just, you know, gone through the floor in terms of the price of these things. So, you know, indoor lighting for these plants has, you know, never been as affordable, never been as easy to use and set up as it is now. And really for like 30 or 40 bucks, you can get a very decent grow light setup with a timer, with a stand, with everything. And with a setup like that, you'd be able to grow year round. That's kind of one of the benefits, right, of growing indoors, is that you physically separate yourself from the outdoors, the, you know, seasonality, the temperature fluctuations, and you can do this stuff year round, which we think is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's actually one of the questions that we got about the lights that you would recommend if someone doesn't have too much light inside their houses. Like I have a friend that, for example, has always lived in how do you guys call the basements in DC, and he was like, you can never grow anything. But then he was researching a little bit more about lights, but we wanted to ask you, maybe you have a blog post about lighting that you would recommend. I know that it has become way more affordable, but still there's a lot of information on what you can use, no?
Yeah. Oh boy, do we have a blog post about that? We have lots of.
Before you dive in, I will say I feel him. It's very complicated and things have changed very quickly. And most of what's written is sort of like for cannabis growers, where it's a different thing, and it's way more complicated than it needs to be. It's pretty simple when you get down to it. And Nate has written a lot about it, but I just wanted to start by saying, I get it's intimidating, and it like 90% what you're out there, like the debates you see on forums are just like not really relevant. And it's really pretty simple to get something that works well and can grow, you know, most plants pretty well.
Yeah.
That's great, because I actually researched a little bit about the lighting at some point when we were living in a house that didn't have too much lighting, and it felt so overwhelming. Yeah. And the forums were like crazy. Yeah. At the end, I didn't bought any because I was like, okay, we will move soon with the place. I would definitely have light. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, a good place to start is with an E26 screw-in type globe, and an E26 just means that it has like a thread, like your regular light globes you'd probably have in your ceiling. So with a fitting like that, there's a whole range of different globes that you can get. They range on the cheap end from like $10. A really, really high-end one might set you back about 70 or 80. But there's a ton of options in like the $20 to $30 price range. And you generally want to look for something that's full spectrum. I would stay away from the purple ones. So full spectrum, it will look to your eyes kind of white or kind of warm white. I would combine that with a light fixture of your choice. which can be like a hanging pendant thing. I used to have one set up at home, which was just a simple cord with a lamp head that I got from IKEA. You could also put it in a simple desk lamp. Maybe you've already got one of them lying around, or you can, salvage one. But you've got the globe, you've got a lamp or housing, which you can quite likely repurchase or you already have. The other thing you probably want is a timer. I like to use the sort of smart timers, so you can hook into like a Google or Alexa system, which allows you to, automatically program it. But even if you got like a simple mechanical one, that will work just fine as well. But all up, you're looking at maybe a little bit more, $45 worth of components across those three pieces that you need to set up what will be a very, very versatile unit, a system that is easily expanded on. It's simple to use, and it's also very, adjustable and flexible. So I think because of the, ease of use, flexibility, affordability, that is probably the best place to start for a beginner with indoor lighting. Then there's kind of this intermediate world of grow lights where you'll find strips, you'll find units with integrated housing and frames, which is sometimes useful. I think it can also sometimes be a little bit restrictive because it often, that integrated frame or housing or stand can often kind of compromise the use cases a little bit and make it difficult to kind of adapt. But there's a world of, those kind of all-inclusive standalone type grow lights, which might go for sort of $40 up to about $100. And then beyond that, you start getting into strip LEDs or grow bars, and they might come in a 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, or 6 foot length. These units, Rob's got an example behind him in the top of the unit there. You can't actually see it, but it's obviously doing a very good job of illuminating that cabinet. Mm-hmm. Those units are a fair bit more expensive, and when you get into that sort of thing, I feel like you move away from, hey, this is a cute little garden I've got set up in the corner of my room, to, hey, now all of a sudden I've got a hardcore grow tent or a grow setup. And that's fine, like if you're really wanting to go big, but you're probably going to need like some dedicated shelves or racks or some sort of mounting system for it all. On a, area illuminated per dollar invested, they're a lot more economical, but they're really only good for much, much larger grow spaces and grow areas. So yeah, they're the three basic types, but I would definitely recommend for a beginner you start with just a simple screw in, a lamp, housing, and a timer. Super easy. And we've got plenty of blogs and also a lot of YouTube videos that talk about this stuff in detail.
If you look at microgreen trays in the world, like this is the smallest one. Like ours is by far the smallest one. And that's because we don't really cater to commercial growers. But yeah, they'll mostly come in, it's called like a 1020 tray, which is sort of like the industry standard size. And a lot of folks who do it that way will use soil. And if you are sort of at a commercial level, soil is pretty nice because you can be kind of circular, and like our mats compost, but like they're not going to compost as quickly as soil, like soil that has microgreen roots in it. So a lot of commercial growers will grow, harvest, and then they'll have like the soil and roots all mixed together. And then they can just compost that really quickly and then reuse it in their next grow. And they don't mind being a little bit dirtier and that, because like they've got power washing stations and all that. So so that's like the one answer is I think most commercial growers that I've seen tend to use media like soil. And I think it's for that reason that it's like, it can be a little bit more circular, or it's quicker. That being said, you can buy rolls of this stuff. You can buy a nice wide roll. I think True Leaf Market sells one roll of this, and I think you can get it from Johnny's Seeds as well. And yeah, like and if you want to get into commercial microgreens growing, there's like tons of great YouTube videos out there for like people that have started small businesses. And I think there's like a lot of info out there for commercial growers, and kind of one or two people startup type companies that like are doing it. But yeah, so this is available for that. I haven't seen anyone that uses like our self-watering strategy where you kind of have the jute mat wick. I haven't seen that. We've got a patent in the works for it. And I haven't yet seen that in like a bigger tray. So I think if you are doing it commercially, you are sort of signing up to, watering them every day or at least every other day, and not sort of like a set, leave it for a week and come back style like we've got.
I know that is so deep. Yeah, when Christina told me that she like left for the weekend and came back, I was like, no, they're gonna die. I won't be able to do the reel for them. And she's like, no, you don't have to water them ever. I was like, are you serious? So easy, so easy. I love that.
There's another question that we got also about if every type of seeds can grow in these kits, because I feel
my understanding is the question is like, do any seeds work with this? In particular, one of your students has like a bunch of old seeds and they're interested in potentially like, using them before they go bad in a kind of microgreens type kit.
Yes.
Yeah, most seeds you do pretty much the same. Bigger seeds you want to soak, so like lentils or corn or peas, so they tend to be like bigger seeds and they grow shoots, I guess, rather than microgreens. Those you'd want to soak for like 2 hours maybe beforehand. And I just like to use the little tray like that. Our lid does it like a tray, soak it, then I'll just flip it. There are some seeds I haven't been able to get to grow, like nasturtiums. I've had a lot of trouble with seeds that need darkness to germinate, which isn't many, like don't grow well in this type of system because it's got a clear lid, it's exposed to the light. That's good for most seeds, but for some that's not desirable. So I don't know, maybe we'll make a blackout lid, but yeah. I think 90% of what I've tried will work. And I think if someone has old seeds they're worried about going bad, like this is a great way to use them and get some like use out of them, because you're using a ton of seeds. And it's like almost every edible plant you can eat the microgreen, whether it's a flower or lettuce or even like root vegetables like carrots or beets. Like all of those make great microgreens. So
you guys also have a system for peppers, right? You said? So
yeah, a system might be a stretch. We sell some very special pepper seeds that that we spent a while sourcing. They're from the Netherlands, and it's like a very compact variety. And we do sell like a good container for it, soil for it, and like plant food for it. But it's very much just like it's very simple as far as system. It's like dirt, seeds, nutrients, and you're kind of doing like very classic container gardening. Yeah, and that kit also has like a very specially sourced tomato plant that gets like this tall, 6 inches, 8 inches tall. So it goes super compact cherry tomato, as well as a strawberry plant. That's also a small space variety.
Are there any vegetable plants, microgreens you shouldn't eat?
Yes, I think there are. It's not coming to my mind what it is, but
I think it might be like in the eggplant family and the nightshade
right?
family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
those are sketchy
tend to
when
be
they're
toxic.
small. Yeah.
I think like the leaves period, like tomatoes. You're right. Tomatoes, eggplants. Yeah, not good. Root crops tend to be good. I think like most of them, some of the most popular microgreens are root crops. Leafy greens, those are all going to be good, right? Because like we eat the leaves of them normally. But yeah, I think, yeah. I wouldn't do like fruits either. I wouldn't do like, oranges. I think most things where you eat the fruit of it, whether it's a tomato, a cucumber, or like an orange, I really never see those sold as microgreens. It's mostly like root crops, leafy greens.
I wonder about pumpkin sprout, because you eat like you can like sprout pumpkin seeds, but I've never seen them as microgreens. I wonder about like seeds like that, because chia you can eat as sprouts, as a microgreens, right? So
like corn is actually one of my favorites.
Really?
Yeah,
I've never tried that.
It's so crazy because you eat it and you're like, this tastes just like fresh sweet corn, but it's like a blade of grass. It's like really weird. But that's when I'll like keep on my desk and just like pick at it throughout the day while I work. Lentils are another one where I guess we normally eat the grain, and you do that. Garbanzo beans, those are fun. Chickpeas.
Like as microgreens?
Oh yeah, yeah. They're
Huh.
kind of crazy. They have this like little tingle to them. It's not quite like Szechuan, but it's like almost there. It's like they're this like weird little yeah.
And do you eat like the
Garbanzos as microgreen?
yeah uh-huh. Wait, so do you eat just the shoot then, or do you also eat the bean part?
No, I don't eat the seed part, mostly because I just like, it's like things can get like organic and funky down there, and like I'm sure it would be fine, but like I like to cut the plant, a little bit above that like wet area with all the seeds.
Right.
Just doesn't, you see it, you're like, that doesn't look so appealing. Like I'm not going to eat that part.
That's cool. I'm gonna try that now because I have a bunch of garbanzos.
Oh yeah, they're great. Harvest them early. If you wait too long, they do get like kind of very fibery and stringy. So still totally edible, but you want to kind of catch them when they're a little bit more tender.
Going back to the previous question, I had a follow-up, but so with the pepper plant or whatever, do you need grow lights for that, or can you just have like a sunny south-facing window?
Yeah, so like sun is the best. It's free. It's plants are adapted to it, and yeah, tons of people have a good window for it. And like, yeah, peppers are
one good window in my home. Yeah.
I was just going to add a little bit about the cultivar selection and lighting. So there's Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, is it University of Florida or South Florida?
I think it's University of Florida, but yeah.
Florida. Okay. So there's a group down there, like a horticultural group down there that runs some really interesting trials and experiments on different cultivars and looking at their responsiveness to different levels of light. And one of the things that they've pointed out is that there's actually some pretty wide ranges in terms of acceptable lighting conditions within a certain variety of plant. So you could get peppers that need a 25 to 30 DLI, or daily light integral, which is how you kind of measure the daily volume of light. But then you can also get some varieties of peppers which might do okay in, say, 10. They could survive in a third of as much light. And to kind of relate that back to us indoor gardeners, one of the things that we are really interested in and doing a lot of work on is cultivar selection. And it's super important because so many people waste so much time, money getting, this fancy soil, nutrients, lights. Like you can spend hundreds of dollars on these setups for indoor gardening if you wanted to. But a lot of the time, like just selecting the right cultivar can solve so many of those problems. Like get a cultivar that is right for your space, that is good for your light conditions. Get one that is, disease resistant. Get one that is pest resistant. Get one that has the right, size and stature for the space that you're wanting to grow it in. And, you've got like hundreds of years worth of evolution that's gone into this seed. To ignore that and not take advantage of it just seems like a pretty silly thing to do. Nature's done a lot of work evolving these plants to have different attributes and kind of features. So we are big advocates of kind of cultivar selection and making sure that you kind of choose the right type of variety for your grow space.
Yeah, it's just on like a conceptual level. I don't know. This is a little non-practical, but like
that's one of the things. Really good point, though. Yeah.
We talk about a lot. Is just like that's like when you look at these like smart systems, it's like 99% of the brains are like in the genetics of that seed. Like that's really what's doing all the work here. Like what's doing anything smart. And then like as a gardener, you're just kind of doing like stupid things. or I guess the nutrients is like a little bit more complicated. Then you're just like, put water, put light, and like, yeah, I don't know, take care of it every once in a while. But like really all the intelligence of the gardening system comes from that seed. And like, that's, yeah, and it's just kind of interesting to think about, like as a designer, you're like, I'm just like trying to put this thing here and just like do dumb things around it to make it work. And like, it's going to do it all on its own, more or less.
Thank you so much again for sharing all of your knowledge. I love it.
Before we're kicked off, too, I just want to say you guys are doing great work, and
Thank you.
we
Right
really
back at you.
appreciate the opportunity to be a part of it. So
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah.
for inviting us.
Second that.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much for having
Thanks
us.
for doing it.